Welcome. Let's talk about English language learning. Specifically, English language proficiency measures, CELLA versus WIDA. WIDA, known as the World-Class Instructional Design and Assessment. WIDA is divided into 3 tests that they offer. The first is Access for ELLs. This is an annual assessment used to measure English language proficiency, and they also offer an alternate access for ELLs that's available for those with cognitive disabilities. The next test is the WIDA Access Placement Test. This is used to identify and determine the placement of students who are ELL. And the last one is the WIDA Model. This is a series of assessments of English language proficiency and can be used as interim assessments to check for growth. Each of the WIDA tests just seen contain 4 sections: listening, reading, speaking, and writing. The format is multiple choice and constructed response. The test form is divided into 5 grade clusters, as you can see here. The emphasis of WIDA is on academic language, and a distinguishing factor is that WIDA is adaptive, and meaning that items are presented until the student reaches his or her performance ceiling. In addition to the grade clusters, WIDA has 3 tiers, A, B, and C, that correspond to proficiency levels of English language learners that are taking the test. The tiers overlap in an effort to have a test designed not only within a particular grade cluster, but also within a range of proficiency levels. This gives a more detailed description of which students fall under what tier. Research in second language acquisition suggests that ELLs are rarely fully at one level or another. And for this example, for this reason, they've broken up this way. The decision as to which tier version of the test is going to be given to a student is made by the teacher, and they make the decision based on information gathered by other language tests, for example, the placement test. Let's look at some examples of how WIDA is administered. This example is for listening section, grade 6 through 8, and Tier A. Tier A is the first one. Someone that falls into this category is whoever is performing at the lowest level of English language proficiency. It could be someone who's never had instruction previously in English. In addition, WIDA separates their test items and organizes them by categories. This category, for this example, would be weather. And we're going to be looking at language of science. This is what the student will be presented with for this listening task. The audio would say, "Look at the big picture. It shows a science class. Tom's science class is learning about weather." They will use several different instruments to tell about the weather. Each group of students will use the instruments to report the weather. Number 1. One of these weather instruments is a wind vane. It tells which direction the wind is blowing. It shows the 4 directions of the compass: north, south, east, and west. Which picture shows a wind vane? And the child would select. This is a listening example. This next example would be for a reading task, grade 6 through 8, for Tier B. Tier B would be an English language learner who has social language proficiency and some, but not extensive, academic language proficiency in English. The theme here is Multicultural Club, and the language we'll be looking at is math. This is what the child is presented with. They would read the paragraph listed above. These are the sample questions. They also get a picture to go along with it. And this requires a child to have vocabulary in math. Last example of a WIDA administration would be for writing. Grade 6 through 8 is this example for Tier C, and that is the last tier, which is most appropriate for English language learners who are approaching grade level in literacy and academic language proficiency in their core content areas. So this is what they would see. There's instructions at the top. Read these 4 ideas on how to improve our school. Then they have the ideas and pictures to go along with it. Then they're also given a prompt. There you can see it on the right-hand side, as well as ideas on how to prepare their writing. The next proficiency measure is CELLA, the Comprehensive English Language Learning Assessment. This assessment has an emphasis on academic language. The test is divided into 4 levels, A through D, that you can see here by grades. And each of those levels contain the 4 sections: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. All 4 sections of the CELLA are taken online on a computer, but print versions are also available. We will show you a CELLA administration example by a student that was created, and her name is Ashika. She is in 1st grade. She's going to be taking the level A test because that is the range for grades K through 2. Now, this example will be presented to you at the end of this video. We will be showing a YouTube video that shows this administration. What type of activities would you see in the different domains? Well, let's look at a few. Under listening, a task that could be given to the child would be a listen and match type of task. For speaking, they may be asked to retell a story. Under reading, they may be given a passage and asked to answer questions. And under writing, they will have to write sentences and paragraphs. This is an example of how to determine the proficiency measures for CELLA. So they have 4 levels, and this specific example is only for grades K through 2, and you can see how their skill scores are used in comparison. But the pattern here is a beginning is someone that is usually below grade level. Low intermediate would be someone that is at or below grade level. High intermediate is someone that is at their grade level. And proficient would be someone performing in a manner similar to someone that's not ELL. After the CELLA is administered, this is what a sample report would look like. And you can see there on the bottom left the scores and how they're given the proficiency level. And on the right, it just gives a more detailed description for each subtest. Now it's time to see that CELLA administration. YouTube video will be shown.